Right, after another international break and England booking their place at World Cup 26 and another managerial sacking in the Premier League. Find out what will happen in game week number 12 of the Premier League.
Liverpool are the champions for their people, with their people. Declan Rice, oh, it's a ripper. Marvellous, oh, that's magnificent.
The young guns of Chelsea claim the Champions League prize.
Newcastle will be playing Champions League football again. Now, 20 times the champions of England, Liverpool.
Yes, England have gone win in all of their qualifying games, and we had another managerial sacking, this time from Wolves. Yes, we'll go on to Wolves and that in a moment, but before we get into the Premier League predictions, here is this.
Boys, if you want a discount on your energy, go and get my discount in the description. New Dan 10 at checkout. Peace.
And we're starting off on Saturday at 12:30 at Turf Moor for Burnley versus Chelsea. Now, Chelsea, as we know in the last games before the international break, they beat Wolves, and which was the last game of the new manager for, well, technically they sacked him off. Technically, yeah, but that was Wolves' first game out of Chelsea, a 3-0 win for Chelsea, a convincing one with goals in the second half from Gusto, João Pedro and Pedro Neto, and Burnley lost 3-2 to West Ham in the 87th minute, where they did score. But I think in this game, the Blues will get the blue one. Burnley will struggle to score, and Chelsea should control it. They will control it by 2-0. No guests this week, but we now go to AFC Bournemouth versus West Ham United. Now, West Ham got their second win on the spin, beating Burnley 3-2 in that game, and AFC Bournemouth being destroyed by Aston Villa by 4-0 in that one. But I mean, I think West Ham, you'd have enough to get on. West Ham have enough to get on the score sheet. I mean, they've scored 6 goals in 2 games now, but they're very weak in defence over West Ham. And I'm going to say that West Ham and Bournemouth will end in a 1-1 draw. We now staying at 3 o'clock and moving from Bournemouth to Burnley. From Bournemouth to Brighton. For Brighton versus Brentford now. Brentford have been my surprise, beating Newcastle by 3-1 thanks to Thiago brace. It didn't help with Dan Burn getting sent off, so he'll miss this game. And they play against a Brighton team who drew 0-0 away at Selhurst Park to Crystal Palace. But they didn't, so that was an interesting game at least. But in this one, I do believe that it will go the way of Brighton. Home advantage, attacking and decisive quality up front. 2-1 to Brighton and Hove Albion. We now go a bit further up the country to Fulham versus Sunderland. Now, Sunderland. They were losing until the 94th minute when Brian Bobby decided that he wanted to concede, to ruin Arsenal's form of winning a game, which kept Arsenal in, and helped out the big one between Liverpool and City, but we'll get onto that later on in the game week. However, Fulham did lose again. This time they lost. Fulham, they did lose to Everton again. I mean, Fulham are going through a patch, but Sunderland, I think, could drop points. But I mean, Sunderland could also win a game. Fulham aren't looking good. 2-1 win to Sunderland. We now move to Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest. Now Liverpool lost 3-0 to Manchester City on the weekend. But last minute, obviously, it played. Again, they are losing touch. Liverpool are now 7th. They are 11. They are about 9 points off Tottenham, which at this stage, 11 games in, to the Premier League, is quite a big margin to overcome. But however, against a Forest team who have looked quite good under Sean Dyche, beating Forest, beating Leeds in that relegation battle. And I think that, I mean, Liverpool will win this game easily, but Forest might get a goal. 3-1 Nottingham. 3-1 Liverpool versus Forest. We now go to the penultimate game on the weekend, which is Wolves versus Crystal Palace. Now, Wolves, as we know, relieved Victor Pereira as manager a few weeks ago and has been replaced by former player and former Middlesbrough manager and Watford manager and Luton boss Rob Edwards. He is now back in the Black Country for Wolves. His first game, though, will be against Crystal Palace, who, as we know, look very, very strong in all comps. Like, in all comps, they look superb. I mean, I could see this game being a win, but of course, I see it being a draw. Wolves, you don't know how to play under the new manager, but I'm gonna stick with I'm gonna go off a 1-1 draw. Neither team will dominate, but I think Palace are going for a bit of a tough patch at the moment. We now go to the game on 5:30, and it is Newcastle versus Man City. Now, Newcastle have gone through a bit of a patch in terms of form recently, losing to West Ham and then losing to Brentford by 3 goals. And I think Man City, as we know, did beat Liverpool in that big second place, third place clash. As we know that Man City are so strong, though. Man City's firepower should expect to overwhelm St James's Park, but it is St James's Park. 3-1 to Manchester City. That is Saturday done. Now we go on to Sunday, and we start off with Leeds United versus Aston Villa at Elland Road. Now, Leeds and Villa both lost. Well, Villa won their game on the weekend, last time out against Bournemouth, putting 4 past them, thanks to Emi Buendia, Onana, Ross Barkley and Daniel Malland. But, yeah, I mean, you never know. Villa have found a bit of form recently, but Leeds haven't. But I'm going to go with a end-to-end game, likely to end, both teams have attacking thing, 3-2 Aston Villa. We now move to the North London derby. Arsenal v Tottenham Hotspur. We had the ladies last week. We have the men this week. It is the NDL. Now, North London derby. Again, I do think that both these teams will cancel each other out. It has been played 179 times, with 84 wins to Arsenal and 62 for Tottenham Hotspur and 52 draws. And I think, but Arsenal and Spurs drew to Manchester United in that crazy game where they scored 2 goals in 5 minutes, thanks to Matthias Tell and Richarlison, and then Matthias de Ligt scored. I think that Arsenal did draw, however, to to Sunderland, but I mean, it was Sunderland, and I do think that Spurs do look good. This is Thomas Frank's big test here. 2-1 win to Arsenal, and they will brag bragging rights over the north of London. We now go to the game on Monday night, which is Manchester United versus Everton. Now, we should be sharper than Everton, but we are without Benjamin Sesko for a couple of weeks after he sustained a hamstring strain in the last game. I mean, we should win this game against Everton. Everton do look good though, but we should have too much. 2-0 win to the boys, and that will bring game week 12 to an end. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you on Monday for the Champions League. I think is back. I'm just going to check that before I say yes or no. Champions League is back. It's back Tuesday and Wednesday, so you'll see that on Monday. You'll see a Champions League on a Monday. Until then, goodbye for now. What will happen with the North London derby? Will Arsenal have even more gap? Will the gap be closed? What will Edwards do in charge of Wolves? And will United get back to winning ways? Find all this out and a lot more in game week 13. Goodbye for now.